And it's Marie, and we're here to share some information on stoneware with you and tips for using it.
Very good. Pampered Chef Stoneware collection is fabulous. You know, it is the heart of our business, and stoneware has been around since the beginning of the Pampered Chef.
I always say stoneware transforms your oven into a brickline oven without the expense. You know, you're not going to spend $30,000 for a professional brickline oven, but you can totally duplicate the effects of a brickline oven in your own home with the use of a stone. And for the cost of ordering pizza once, you can buy a stone and make pizza at home that's going to be as good or better than a store-bought pizza parlor pizza.
A stone is going to save you money because, you know, you're not going to be throwing away any leftovers because you're going to be able to re-crisp those French fries, that fried chicken, those wontons, the egg roll, you know, and they're going to taste just like they were when you first got them. So that's perfect. Right. Yes, and also foods baked in a stone, they're moist and tender. And there's nothing like using the deep covered baker to bake a Sunday pot roast, a roasted chicken. How about in the rectangular baker, make that, you know, best potato casserole or some pork chops or even a turkey breast. How moist is that going to be? Lasagna, and you know what, Marie? Brownies and cakes.
Yeah, one of my favorite recipes, I call it a real simple recipe, is I just take stovetop stuffing on the bottom of my pan, put pork chops on the top, and take Lipton onion soup and sprinkle it. Cover up the baker, put it in the oven. It's easy dinner. But recently we also found out that stoneware is phenomenal in the microwave oven. So we can do chicken fajitas in 12 to 14 minutes. We could do a 10-minute pork tenderloin. We can make a full chicken. And a mom's worst nightmare, Patty, is coming into the kitchen. It's around 5 o'clock. The family's looking at you. What are those three dreaded words?
What's for dinner?
Yes. Well, imagine for a moment that you have our magic pot. You can open up your pantry, take a couple ingredients out, open up your fridge, take a couple ingredients out with virtually no mess. You can have dinner in under 20 minutes. And people even say that the deep covered baker is kind of like a crock pot on steroids, and it's kind of magic the way it works. You know, instead of the microwaves cooking the chicken and creating rubber chicken, the heat actually heats up the stone, and the stone cooks the food, and that's why the food stays moist.
Oh, another tip is when you're baking is that, you know, whatever color that you see on top is the color that you're going to see underneath. I love that just because it heats nice and evenly all the way across. And you can always tell when your pizza's done that way, and even your cookies are done. And you know what? It was, when we were growing up, my mother used to make these black and serve rolls, and she was a little embarrassed. She would actually cook them. They would be black on the bottom, but she would run to the kitchen sink and she would scrape off all the excess black, and she would bring them to the table, and we were like, Mom, really? It's okay. Don't worry about it. But obviously, no more of that. No more black bottom rolls anymore. So the other thing is that, you know, with baking a brownie on there, when typically you bake a brownie in something other than our baking stone, you actually get those hard edges around the outer edge, which obviously those are the ones that you eat, and then you're serving that middle moist part to your guests. So not that way anymore. So perfect for baking.
You know, one of the things I love is when you bake on a stone, things on the bottom crisp up just like things on the top. So you don't have to singe and burn off your eyebrows or eyelashes by reaching your head in the oven to flip the tater tots, the fish sticks, and all that stuff. So it's crispy tater tots, fish sticks without losing anything.
I know. Little sticky things. Okay. Did you know our stones are actually hand finished and fired at 2,000 degrees?
2,000 degrees.
2,000 degrees. They heat evenly so that your food heats evenly as well. They're going to retain heat for about 30 minutes after you get them out of the oven. Which, what does that mean? That means that your husband comes home late from work, or the kids have extracurricular activities after school, and you're like, oh my gosh, but not to worry because dinner is still warm. So yes.
And that last piece of pizza is still warm if, you know, you have a conversation over a table, which I think is really important that we encourage family meal times. But do you know that our stoneware differs than other things on the market? Truly, Pampered Chef Stoneware is the best, and we are like the biggest distributor of stones. There's another kind of stone, it's red, and you have to dip it in water and you put it in a cold oven and it steams up food. That is not like what we have. And then there's another kind of stone that you called it the smoking stone.
Yes,
right,
smoking stone.
Because it's not like Pampered Chef stone. So if you went to, it's fine for doing pizza or bread, but God forbid you try to bake cookies or do other things on it, you're going to have an oven fire.
I know. And that other one, Marie, I think is called Aromatop, the one that you actually have to soak. So
just know ours is the best.
And not all stones are created equal. Isn't that right?
Right, that's true.
Did you know that a new stone is easy to season? You're going to bake something that has a high fat content on it, like crescent rolls are perfect. You know, and I love the veggie pizza. That is one of my very favorite things to make.
One of the first things I ever cooked.
I know, I love that. And actually at Christmas time, I kind of turned it into a wreath or a Christmas tree. So it's absolutely perfect. Just a little garnishing idea there.
Well, I always lightly season my stone with a little olive oil when I'm making focaccia bread. And even though my stone is well seasoned, I still brush the olive oil on it. We have a saying in Pampered Chef, don't we, Patti?
Oh, yeah.
Because the stone gets more seasoned as you look. Like brand new stone, a little medium. This one is nice and old. Our saying is, the worse it looks, the better it cooks.
Absolutely. I know. And the stone sears the bottom. The stone sears the bottom and the moisture stays in the food. You know, that's why things like your brown potato casserole is outstanding in stoneware. And, you know, crispy edges and a very moist interior. And that's what you're trying to achieve, just like those brick-lined ovens.
Yeah, I love that.
That's why they work well.
You know, in metal, the excess oil stays under the food, you know, and that moisture creates soggy bottoms. And that's why all those instructions say flip this halfway during baking. The even heating of stoneware doesn't make that happen, and you can eliminate. In fact, research, I was thrilled about this. This was a number of years ago. Research showed the very best cookies were baked on a baking stone with parchment paper. And the number 2 best cookies were actually baked directly on a stone. And didn't you, in your early days, Patti, when you first started, didn't you bring cookies to your show?
I did, Marie. I didn't believe. You know, everybody would talk about it, and I thought, I need to test this out for myself. So I actually made a batter of Tall House cookies, and I split the batter, so it's the same batter, and actually baked half of them on a baking stone and the other half on a cookie sheet. And I could not, it didn't even taste like the same cookie. And the results, obviously, were unbelievable. They were beautiful golden brown, the one that was actually done on the baking stone, and the other one, not so good, but I brought them with me to every show. I used to bring them in those little baggies, and people were like, wow. And, you know, obviously that was a great testimony. So, and I could remember when my husband actually, you know, when I only had one baking stone, and I would take it with me, and he would be standing at the door when I got home, and he'd like, where's that baking stone? And I was like, I only had one.
Yeah, well, we don't want you to ruin your stone. The one thing that will ruin a stone, besides dropping it, is called thermal shock. So you never take a hot stone, hot and cold do not mix. So just like you would never put an ice cube in a cup of hot tea, because it would cause it to crack, you don't want to put something frozen on a hot stone. So, you know, we would preheat our oven, but not leave the frozen pizza on our stone, because if you left that frozen pizza on your stone while you're waiting for your oven to preheat, you're actually putting a cold stone into a hot oven. And you also want to use the right amount of food for the size of stone, because I've also heard somebody take one of those 6-inch frozen pizzas and put it on a large stone. Well, the center is ice cold, but the edges where there's no food on the stone is like 400 degrees. So you've got an ice cold middle and a hot edge, and that can cause thermal shock.
Exactly.
You want to talk about how you clean them up?
Clean a stone. This is so simple. What you want to do first is you want to make sure that the stone actually comes to room temperature. And that's really important. And then all you do is you take that little rubber scraper that comes with every single stone. You know, it's not excess parts. I always tell people, make sure that you look for it in there, and it's great for lots of other things as well. But you just take that, you scrape off any of the excess food, and then you just rinse it under hot water. And it's very easy. And if you find that your stone gets a little tacky or even a little sticky, you may want to do a baking soda salt mixture that you can actually just kind of put it on top of the stone, scrub it in there, and then you just easily rinse it off. But right back to normal without no sticky stuff on there.
Stones are freezer and refrigerator safe. So just like a stone keeps food hot, like you were talking about, Patty, if you have a stone in the refrigerator, it also keeps food cold. Although you need to be very careful if you've stored your stone in the refrigerator and you're going to put it back in the oven, you need to bring it back down to room temperature before you use it. Remember I said that cookies are phenomenal baked on stone and that the best cookies were on parchment on a baking stone? Just a couple little tips. A lot of times I will take my parchment paper and I'll put a batch of cookies on it, and I'll have the batch that was on the stone already cooking. And then easily with my cooling rack, I'll pull the cooked cookies onto my cooling rack and then get my next batch ready to slide back on the stone. So I can just kind of keep it going. You don't adjust times for using your stones. Like people think, oh, do I need to add extra baking time? Absolutely not, except the first batch of cookies when your stone is still cold, and not heated up, you're probably going to add an extra 2 minutes to that very first batch of cookies.
Yes, very good. And it's microwave safe. You're going to put your you're going to put your stones in the microwave. It's not going to it's not going to become as crispy or as brown as it would if it were in the oven. But it is great because of the fact that it has that heat retention in there. It's going to be great for hot dips and sauces. So that's perfect. So, yeah, goes the whole night long. And you can use knives and pizza cutters. They can be directly on the baking stone, and they do not harm the surface of the baking stone. And the glaze, the cranberry glaze, I know it is beautiful, and that's exactly what it is. It's just a glazing. It looks very nice. It's just a dressy thing, so it doesn't, alter.
The inside is still the stuff, so it's just like good china.
Right, absolutely. And they did that. They did a wonderful job with that because, a lot of people were kind of like, oh, it doesn't look as pretty, but, obviously that makes it look really pretty and it looks nice on the table, so.
Yeah, and I know that we have glazed stoneware like in the pie plate. I also want to make a shout out that Cook's Magazine said the very best pies to get the crispy, flaky crust was baked in a stoneware pie plate. Now, the best position, like when you're making pizza in your oven, the lower half of the oven, I always tell pizza people that the heat rises and you don't want your cheese to burn on your pizza before your crust is cooked. And do you want to talk about like which stone should somebody choose?
I know, because that's the big question. There are so many things to choose from, and what I tell people at my shows is I just say, if you're making that decision, the best thing to do is replace something that you use most often. So if you love your rectangular baker, or your pie plate, that's what I would actually replace, because then you'll grab for it more and you'll use it more, and then with the result of that, you'll love that so much that you'll continue to buy more baking stones.
One of my favorite recipes and tips is I love oven roasted vegetables, and all I'll do is take a big bunch of vegetables, slice them up, add some sliced garlic, a little bit of Pampered Chef's Italian seasoning or one of those seasonings, toss it up with a little olive oil, put it on my bar pan, and I'll bake it at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes. If I want to give it a toss in the middle, I can. But my secret is the last 5 minutes, you let it snow Parmesan cheese. So you take those oven roasted vegetables, you take your microplaner or your cheese grater and let it snow Parmesan cheese. Put that back in the oven for like 5 minutes. So you could take those oven roasted vegetables, toss it with some cooked linguine. It's a great meal. You can also have hidden like maybe a salmon patty or chicken breast in there if you want. I know the egg cooker, we're having a great time. This was developed by the Test Kitchen, just the right depth, just the right thing for a quick, easy, healthy morning breakfast tray.
Poached eggs in less than 1:10 seconds. That's crazy. I find that I eat more eggs that way. I can eat them like 3 times a week, and I share breakfast with my dog, Ralphie.
Yeah, what kind of recipes do you make on your stone?
Just everything. Obviously, this is, I love my Stoneware bar pan. I think it's great if you're going to do that bacon on there. So we talk a lot about, doing bacon on your stoneware so that it's not on your stovetop. Or the ridged baker works great on there. But you can get more in here. If I was putting that in the oven, you can use this obviously in the microwave. But I do love that. And I love it for baking as well. So I like it for, makes a great crust on there, like an apple slice or something like that. So I love it for that. Besides all the pork chops and gosh, all the other things, French fries and tater tots and everything else that I do.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's doing healthy cooking shows and talking about oven frying. And when you, because of the way stoneware gets nice and crisp, you can do oven frying right on your baking stone. So whether you're potato wedges and make like oven fries, I know some people do kale chips. And
kale chips are great.
Jillian Grant, from her, I learned that you just take your croutons and chop them up with your food chopper, and then dip your chicken breast in either Dijon mustard or Italian seasoning, and put them in the seasoned breadcrumbs and put it on there, and it's just a 3-ingredient recipe.
Very good, very good. So besides stoneware, Marie, how about our metal bakeware?
Yeah, they say 60% of all of our customers are not going to, as much as we love stones, about 60% really want to choose metal bakeware.
I know. Love my metal bakeware as well. Good high quality.
Yeah, it's anodized steel.
Right, absolutely. Even heat distribution, so perfect for that. And they're broiler and freezer safe as well.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you can't do with a stone is put it under the broiler. The flimsy ones that you get at the store kind of get warped and out of shape. I personally take the small metal pan with me. I actually have my ice slice as a magnet right on there, and I pass it around. And when people pick it up at my shows, they're like amazed at the quality of it.
And I feel,
yeah, and it's like we're providing a commercial quality product in everybody's home.
Absolutely. That's great. Great advice. And so, what are some of the things, you know, that you can do while you can start using these baking stones in your own kitchen? In fact, you know, it's great. You can get a lot of this stuff online at the Pampered Chef website, or you can go to moserinoteamtraining.com. Success is the password, and you can check out all the great information there as well. So
yeah, I hope you rock your business with stoneware.
There you go. Thank you.